Hello, I'm Justin Katz. This is Tiverton on Track, the regular podcast, live stream, Facebook Live, whatever we want to call it, of the Tiverton Taxpayers Association. This is episode number 24, a very special, important episode on timely matters. It's Friday, December 11th, 2020. So, track one, closing in on Christmas. Now, I don't have to tell anybody in this audience that it's been a long, strange, acrimonious year, almost from the beginning. I mean, we've been cooped up with COVID for months and months. TTA started to ramp up with our enjoytiverton.org program, trying to let people know what kind of things are going on in town. We had just started ramping that up. We had a new website, plans to find events in town and all that, and then poof, it all went away in a almost like a poof of smoke because of COVID. And it hasn't come back fully, which has been really difficult. All around the state, in the country, the world, people are losing jobs. We've all been at a high level of stress and fear. We're having to adjust our lives. And as you'll hear during this episode's interview, that's starting to show in sort of the types of calls that our local police are finding themselves on. And then on top of it all, we've had this crazy election season, which I promise I won't get into here. I think a lot of us are just shell shocked. One big thing to remember in all this, though, is as important as it is to pay attention, to be informed, to get involved, there's just not a whole lot any of us can really do about most of the big issues in the world. They happen at a level far beyond above our pay grade, as they say. But there is a lot that we can do for ourselves and for those around us. So, if you find yourself stressed, take care of yourself. Try to get some exercise, eat well, get healthy, get focused. I saw an article yesterday about, it was a study showing that people who have been regularly attending religious services, that's the only group in the country that's seen an improvement of their mental health over the past year. Now, whether you're a believer or not, I think that shows how important that sort of internal perspective can help, or perspective of the world that you have internally, how much that can help. And now to get to the point and lead up to the interview, I've found that one of the best ways to take care of myself, for people to take care of themselves, is to take care of other people. That was certainly a big reason that we started Tiverton Cares, which is a local charity, try to just find ways to help people. Helping others, getting involved in a community, it's all very important. It all makes you feel better and makes you healthier and centers you. And that's the subject mostly of today's interview. So on to track 2, Operation Blue Santa. All right, I'm here today. I'm joined by Tiverton Police Department Chief Patrick Jones, and Sergeant John LeDuc. How are you two doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good, Justin. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Everybody's getting in the holiday season, and children are around or not around. Okay. Well, they're around. Sergeant, do you have children?
I do. 4.
4 children. How old are they?
Soon to be 17, 15, 12, and 10.
It's a good span. We range from 7 to 18 now, almost 19. But yeah, I like the younger ones. You feel like you can make up for the mistakes with the older ones. I try not to tell them that. So I asked you both on because the pressing business, and I apologize it's so pressing, just scheduling gets difficult, but tomorrow you guys are having an event, a Christmas charitable event. So I understand, Sergeant LeDuc, you're kind of spearheading this. So why don't you tell the audience what's going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we're actually doing a Stuff the Cruiser event. So we're asking people to come and donate, unwrap new toys that are going to be donated to families within the town.
So it's called Operation Blue Santa, and it's Stuff a Cruiser. So is that people actually will come up and try to fill the whole cruiser and from front to back?
Yes, we started about 3 years ago. We've done it every year since, and it's been growing every year. It's nice. It's been pretty successful. So,
how'd you do last year? Was it one full cruiser? Did you get multiple or?
The first year we had one full, and then last year we had multiple. So we're gonna see if we can break the record this year.
Now, at the end of the day, do you take all the presents out so you can actually drive the vehicles, or do you drive down the street with presents sticking out the window? And
It's pretty full, so we just we go to where we deliver it. So right
and
from
one thing I've always wondered is how do you find the families? How do people contact you and say this family needs help? Is it an application program?
so basically it's basically just post on Facebook. You know, our department page. We also I'll throw it on Tiverton happenings as well. Um, and I just reach out and basically ask those that if they know anybody that's you know, having some difficulty around this time of year, or if they themselves are, to reach out and email me with, you know, some specifics, and you know, that we would put them on a list as far as being able to help out with.
And then about how many families do you think you're helping out this year?
This year, it's pretty significant, and I think a large part of it is due to all the COVID restrictions and things that you know, due to COVID layoffs and whatnot. Um, this year, we're probably I haven't counted, but I would say we're close to probably about, if not 40, 50 families.
How many was that?
Oh, I would say I'll go about 40, 35, 40.
Okay. I thought you said 450.
No, no.
So 40 to 50.
Yeah.
And is it just the presents for the kids, or are parents involved as well, and grandparents, or?
So basically, what I this year's been a little bit different. I've actually had a lot of residents reach out and basically want to provide for specific families. So I've had a lot of you know, Tiverton residents come out and request like a specific family. So if that's the case, then I'll ask for a little bit more interest, gauge some interest as far as that particular family is concerned, and then the family that wants to adopt that family will then go ahead and purchase for, you know, whatever specific interest that those children have.
Right, and I saw on the website that's the name of it, is Adopt a Family, is how you refer to that on the website. Do they still stuff the cars, or do they just go ahead and do that separately?
So those particular, they'll just kind of like take care of that particular family and donate that way. Then what ends up happening is we kind of have like a general collection, and then we reach out to like the Bourne Mill, Sandywood Estates, and the Windmill Apartments, not Windmill, Wynwood Apartments, and reach out to the families that are in those residences, and then they can make a time and arrangement with the property manager to go and you know, pick out toys and whatnot for their family.
Right, and so for those who are just donating tomorrow, I don't think I mentioned it's tomorrow from 10 to 6 at Tom's, out in the parking lot, I assume, for there'll be music and the cars, obviously. So you're specifically, for people who haven't adopted a family, you're looking for just unwrapped gifts for children of all ages, boys and girls, whatever they fancy to bring.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. Do either of you know what prompted the idea back in the 3 years ago? 3 years ago, it seems like forever ago, but
I'll give credit to the sergeant for this one. So the department has always been involved in Toys for Tots, which is state, you know, national, and it's a great cause. Cars involved with that, and the sergeant's a former Marine. So, but we found that we'd get so many toys, and they would come and they would take the toys away, and there was a question on whether the toys and enough help was getting to our residents. So it was the sergeant's idea to say, you know, we could do this locally to make sure that we are taking care of our folks and our residents in our community first, and then anything else, you know, can go. Because obviously a person donating a toy would expect to do it to a Tiverton family first, but that wasn't always the case. So the sergeant spearheaded this and said, let's try this locally with stuff a cruiser. So, and I remember you at the library, and before you know it, we were getting, my assistant, she can't walk in her office right now because we have so many toys. And it's kind of what it is. It's all but a military operation in there. So, and it's just gained a lot of momentum and a lot of traction because people are now knowing that we do this and knowing that it goes to Tiverton residents first. I think it's just, they're more inclined to help out their own community.
Mhm.
So, and that's where we are right now. And with Saturday and tomorrow's event, people can be assured that if they donate a toy and they show up, that we do everything we possibly can to make sure that those gifts get into a family first.
So you've already got a room full of them. So are you gonna fill a
Right.
cruiser just for the effect, or?
I think we could fill the back of a pickup truck right about now with the stuff that we have in there. And also the sergeant also about, you're going to have something there tomorrow too, right? Along with the cruiser.
I'm going to have a special gift. Yes. We have Mr. and Mrs. Claus paying visits. So.
Oh, great. Are they the whole day, or is there a limited amount of time range in there?
They'll probably be there for the majority of the time. We also have Tom's Market, who has donated coffee and hot chocolate, and Groundswell, that's donated 150 chocolate chip and sugar cookies for anybody that does come in and provide a donation. Get some goodies.
Oh.
We
Hot chocolate, coffee, cookies, the Clauses.
We have some musical entertainment by MC Entertainment, Mike Cadero, who's a resident of town and does a really great job of always donating his time and equipment to make it a little bit more fun with some music.
Well, so to remind people, that's tomorrow at Tom's, 10 to 6. Unwrapped presents for kids. Do you guys wrap the presents, or do you have elves help you with that?
No, we leave it to the individual elves of each family to wrap or keep them unwrapped, because everybody has their own way.
Their own talents. That's not one of mine.
So
yeah, that helps. Whose is this? I don't know. Open it up. We'll see what it is. I guess that's for Dad. So if you did end up with extra presents, it occurs to me to ask, what would you do with them? Just try to find other families, or do you have, at that point, you have Toys for Tots as a sort of a pressure gauge kind of?
Correct. Yeah. If there's anything that's left over, then it'll be donated to another charitable event such as Toys for Tots or whatnot.
Great. So while I have y'all, because I don't think, and it's probably a lucky thing for most people, but most people don't interact all that much with the local police. I thought I'd get some background on both of you for anybody who's watching this to get to know you both. So why don't we start with Chief Jones? What's your, just kind of when you came to Tiverton, where you grew up, when you started with the force, all that kind of stuff?
So my family moved here back in '78 during the blizzard. So I, fondly remember moving in during the blizzard with my parents and I've always been a Tivertonian. All of my family at some point has worked for the town. I was the former animal control officer. My brother was a police officer with the police force before East Providence, and my sister's currently a school teacher up at the CASA. So we've been definitely involved with the town all of our lives. And then I started on the department back in '89 as a reserve police officer, and I was hired full-time in 1992. So, and I'm still here. So I've kind of moved up the ranks over my tenure with the police department to finally become chief. And I community. It's a beautiful community. It's I tell people, if you haven't come to Tiverton, you have to. It's one of those rare places that we have cows and the beach in the same town. So, and the people are good people. So we have the luxury of having good people that I work with on the police department that care about the community. So when I became, I remember, and the sergeant can speak to this too, he wanted to do an idea that, and at first it a little off, but he wanted to, we stop people all the time and we have that interaction with the police department, kind of like how you led this off. And it's negative all the time. And we tell our officers all the time, every contact that a citizen police, they remember that. There's an that gets left with them, whether it's a negative or a positive one. Everyone understands that the police are out there and they have a job to do, but it's how we interact and how we do that job. I've had people shake my hand. I've given them a speeding ticket. So it's about that interaction. So
did you knock it down a little? Was that why they shook your hand?
it's that slow down, and they understand, but it's all about that communication, which I think we definitely, I don't think, I know, which is a nation issue, that we need to reconnect with our communities, because people all in general support the role and the function of the police department and law enforcement. But it's that community action that we've, in some communities in different parts of the country, they've lost a little bit. So having the luck of being in a rural suburban community, it's important that we maintain those connections. So getting back to what I was going to say about what the sergeant did, was he approached me and says, we give out speeding tickets. How about we do something different, that when we reward good drivers? I said, well, what are you thinking about? He says, I want to give them gift cards. I want to give them candy. I want to stop them and recognize, hey, you have your seatbelt on, you came to a full at the stop sign, you're really doing something. I go, all right, well, how would that look? Because I don't, blue lights and red lights and people think that they're getting stopped, scrambling for their license and registration. He goes, no, I'm going to stop. And I'm going to ask them if they, I'm going to stop them. And I say, you don't have to. And like, he's got it all down to a science now. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk to you. You're not in trouble. You didn't do anything wrong. And if you don't want to stop or talk to me, you do not have to. But I just like to have a moment of your time. And most people, and I'll let the sergeant explain, stop. Because I think the large majority of it is because of the sergeant's demeanor. He's friendly, he's approachable. This is not an stop. This is more of a casual interaction. And then he explains the reason for the stop, and he's rewarding people for their good driving behavior. And we've gotten so many visitors who loved the idea of it, donating gift cards and gift certificates or candy or donuts. So it's just kind of, but I'll let the sergeant kind of his interactions and obviously introduce himself about how it started off.
So that was your idea, Sergeant?
It was, and then the chief had it pretty accurate. Like I said, you do a lot of traffic enforcements, and unfortunately, you do your best to try to portray, those interactions with the individuals that you're dealing with and speaking with, and try to get them to understand that, it's not. I'm not out here getting my joys off of giving people tickets. It's really the main concern is it's a safety issue, and whether that be seatbelts, whether that be speeding, whether that be distracted driving, or driving under the influence, it's all about safety. And I think when you explain and break things down into those terms, people do have a little bit better understanding and more appreciation that you're not out there just trying to make them pay a $40, $85 citation for something, but that you're out there actually concerned for the way in which they're moving about town. So after, quite a few negative interactions and getting a little beat up out there every now and then, that's when I approached the chief and I said, we're constantly reinforcing negative, recognition. I say, once can we just do a little bit of a positive out there, and instead of it always being a negative, turn around and let's have it be a positive where, you're identifying somebody for actually doing the right thing instead of just constantly identifying them for doing the wrong thing. And the first few times I did it, people were a little nervous, at first, but I tried to, like the chief said, break it down to hey, by no means are you required to stop. You don't have to stop. This is not, I said, but, this is just an interaction that I'd like to have with you, just to point out, some things that you're doing fantastic, and to let you know that we as the police department truly appreciate the fact that you're, abiding by, local traffic laws, et cetera, et cetera.
So is this part of your role with the department to come up with PR, charitable, good face community relations stuff, or is it just something you do because it interests you? And
I really enjoy it. I do. It was an assigned task when I started the job. It wasn't. I get these harebrained ideas sometimes, and I run it by the chief, and he says, "All right, let's go with it," and
give it a try, see how it goes.
Community and living here, I love, and they're not harebrained. I know we say this, he's trying to humble himself, but it's I've seen the change and the attention, the press, the positive feedback that we're getting from the community on all of this stuff. Because when I became and being a local resident, so coming up through the department and living here, being a citizen too, I saw the importance of having the police reconnect with the community. It, like the sergeant said, it doesn't have negative. It shouldn't be negative. The vast majority of interactions that we have with people is positive. And he started coming up with that idea, and I have other officers who have come up with all kinds of ideas. So once he kind of broke the wall, and now there's a line of officers that want to get involved and want to reach out and connect with the community. I mean, and it started with pretty much the gift card idea, the driving incentive. And now I get calls from people, hey, when are you guys doing so I can drive around town, actually ask to get popped. So it's morphed into such a positive, good thing on so many different levels. And, between Coffee with a Cop, Stuff Cruiser, all of the community interactions that we have that have been built a little bit because of COVID, but we have plans for the future to keep going with them and keep rolling with them.
Yeah, I was reading.
And that's like, I'm sorry. I was going to say, go ahead. Child Safety Day that would have been our third annual this past summer. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we were unable to do it. But one of the things that drove me nuts is when parents with their kids would come up and like kind of interact with us, and then they would tell their kids, "Oh, you better be good, or we're gonna have him put you in jail." And I'm like, don't tell your kid that. Like, we want them to feel like, us to be trusted, and for them, if there's an issue or a problem or a concern, that they can approach us. If you're beating that in their heads as a small child, they're never going to have any kind of trust to be able to reach out to us at for the purposes of community and just to be able to assist and help if there's some kind of problem that they have, not only as a child, but then as they grow into an adult, so they're always going to have that perception in their heads. So I think one of the main, important things, and I try to do a lot of things that involve kids, whether it's Safety Day or the bicycle and skateboard helmet program we did last summer. I'm sorry, 2 summers ago because of COVID this past summer. Where if they're, seen riding around on their bike or skateboards or roller skates and they have a helmet and safety gear on, they get a voucher for a free ice cream cone at either Moose Cafe or Helger's Ice Cream. So I just, like the chief said, just kind of breaking down that wall and, letting the residents of Tiverton and the community know that, we're out here to serve the community, not just show up when bad things happen,
And I wonder if some of the issue is that, you'd have in urban areas, you'd have the beat cops, and then in rural areas, you'd have the main drag where the police would just be there walking around, interacting. They're not necessarily chasing down robbers all the time, and just, having that positive interaction, measuring out against when they do have to enforce the law. And it sounds like you're trying to find ways to have that interaction, even though everybody's kind of spread out and often in their cars, speeding on to wherever they're going.
Yes.
So you said, Sergeant, you were a Marine, and what's your background and how'd you come to Tiverton?
So I grew up in Barville, Rhode Island. Graduated from Barville High School, which is similar, I would say, to Tiverton as far as population and we get the farms and the highly rural wooded areas. We don't have the beaches, but it reminded me a lot, of home. And Tiverton, that is. So I ended up leaving when I was 19. I went to boot camp in '96. Was in the Marine Corps, active duty for 11 years. Spent 4 years in California. Had to get out of New England,
Oh yeah, I did it too.
Realized that New England was where I wanted to be. So I ended up coming back and spending another 8 years, just about 8 years, at the recruiting command in Chicopee, Massachusetts, and then recruiting in Fall River. I had frequented the area of Tiverton while I was recruiting, either passing through, to Westport or Dartmouth or the Fall River area. From there, I got out, I finished my degrees, and then I had the calling of becoming a police officer because I seriously missed the camaraderie that I experienced in the military.
When did you
So
join
I
the
was
force?
hoping-
When was that?
2013.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you've been around a while.
2013. So
Yeah, you mentioned driving through Tiverton. I think a lot of people don't realize that right on the water there are houses that are you have to go through Tiverton to get there, but they're actually technically in Fall River. It's a strange
yes.
dynamic. I guess from when the border kept switching back and forth for a while there. So you've both been very generous with your time, but I didn't want to let this opportunity pass. I've been wondering, from the police perspective, what is the effect of COVID been? I mean, is it changing? Well, first of all, is it changing protocols and that sort of thing? But also, is it changing the nature of calls you're getting? Is that part of the job changing at all?
So from a logistic perspective, you know, we had our issue in the early spring or late winter 2020. We didn't know a lot about what would happen. There was definitely an element of fear and how to affect us. I mean, I think then we were afraid that we were all going to get infected and how that was going to impact the ability of us to provide services. So over time, there was the mask wearing, the temperature taking, and just waiting to like who was going to get infected first and how that would impact all of us. But for the most part, and I think what we're seeing now, we pretty much made it through the spring and the summer with no one getting infected. Now that we're in this surge, we've definitely had employees that have been infected. Fortunately, and thank God, nothing serious, no required hospitalizations. But we've had employees test positive. And it's caused just kind of shuffle around our staffing to make sure that we can obviously stay safe and continue to protect the community. So, from my perspective, I'm cautiously optimistic there. Once a vaccine gets released and first responders have the ability to get it, what that is going to look like, not knowing what it's going to look like yet, but so we can, continue to provide the services that we are, required to provide and need to provide, and also protect ourselves. I mean, in the station, we check each other's temperatures at the change of shifts. We were all wearing masks constantly. We're weighing everything down. We bought a atomizer, so we're checking the air. We have air filter, everything that we possibly can do to try and keep each other safe, knowing that we're so essential to the community that the police. And I know the sergeant spoken about just the type of in the nation calls that were going on. Our dispatchers, if you call the police, they're going through kind of like a checklist. Says, are you sick? What's going on? Have you traveled? Have you left the country? Our officers are going to be there. They're going to be wearing a mask on. Do you have access to a mask? Don't, we'll give you one. So, we're just trying to keep our community safe and keep the police department safe. And get through the next couple months with the anticipation that vaccines will start rolling out, and hopefully we can definitely see to steal the line that everyone right now, this light at the end of the tunnel.
So you're expecting that you guys, given your jobs, will be at the head of the line for the vaccine? Is that how it's supposed to work out?
From what I understand, again, and not knowing for sure, but even I know the governor gave her address yesterday on the number of vaccines that are available. I believe it's going to be healthcare workers and as part of critical infrastructure, EMS for sure. And I know police and firefighters or non-EMS firefighters are in that first group. It'll just be a question of where we fall, how that looks over the next couple of weeks and months.
Has Sergeant LeDuc, has the experience of being an officer changed under COVID at all, or?
I get that. Not that you. It's interesting because you're always concerned about gloving up and making sure that you're protected as far as dealing with individuals. So I think you're even more sensitive to it now with the masks and making sure that interaction that you have, you try to stay 6 feet apart, et cetera, et cetera. I definitely do see a difference, or I wouldn't say difference, but an increase in call volume to particular types of calls, whether that be, mental health issues or, things of that nature. I think now that we're going almost on a year of this pandemic, it's really starting to, I think, affect people, in a particular way. So the type of calls that we go on, I think, have definitely sharply increased as compared to like this time last year.
Well, hopefully we're almost through it, and I'm very grateful to you both for your time today. And that's Operation Blue Santa tomorrow at Tom's Market from 10 to 6. Unwrapped gifts, and next year we'll have to expand an event and make you all publicly wrap them. That might be good for.
I'm a fantastic gift wrapper. Right? You can ask my wife.
Well, it might change the nature of the event. I know if I knew that were coming, maybe I'd bring an open fish tank, with a fish in it. See how you might handle that one, and that could make it some fun.
Challenge us. Yeah, that's good.
Well,
I will say this before we wrap it up, Justin. I just wanted to say that this is about upcoming events. So on December 20th, which is Monday, I know the sergeant and Santa be out in town looking for definitely nice people that are obeying the traffic laws and not naughty people. So if you're nice and you're in town, and I won't disclose the hours, but I will give you the date. It'll be Monday, December 21st. Santa and Sergeant LeDuc will be on patrol in town.
All right. Well, I'll be sure to stay home because I'll get myself in trouble. But so that was Monday, December 21st. A little bit of extra incentive to be traveling around town. Does it have to be in a car? Can you be on a walking or on a motor scooter? Or
we're looking for nice drivers. So
nice
you got to be
drivers,
nice.
okay.
No naughty behavior.
All right. Well, we'll definitely get the word out for that. And so thank you both for joining me, and have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time to watch that. And remember, that's tomorrow. If you're watching this on December 11th, 2020, that's tomorrow, December 12th, outside Tom's Market in Tiverton. The police are looking for unwrapped presents to shove in their cars and drive around delivering them. It's a fun event, a great event to help some families in need in town. So thanks to Chief Jones and Sergeant LeDuc for joining me. As always, you can find this episode and all episodes of Tiverton on Track on tivertonfactcheck.org, as well as podcast services if you just want the audio or the video. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, etc., etc. So again, thank you for listening, and if I don't see you before then, have a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year.